Hi, lovies. I'm going to do some Terabithia while my house is quiet. Okay, so where did we leave off yesterday? Oh, yeah. Remember that the teacher is assigning an essay, or they have to go home and watch a TV episode, the news, and on Jacques Cousteau, and then they have to write an essay about it. And Leslie just told the class she doesn't have a TV, which Jess just thinks is like social suicide, like how you don't tell people that, just shh, don't talk about it. And of course the whole class like gasped and they can't believe it. And of course Mrs. Myers, who loves Leslie, she's like clearly the teacher's pet, which is also at this school not good. You don't want to be the teacher's pet. She's just kind of telling her like, okay, well, maybe you could just write about something else. So I think that's what happened right next. So okay. Mrs. Myers handed out dittoed sheets of arithmetic problems. Jess stole a look at Leslie. Her face bent low over the math sheet was red and fierce. At recess time, when he was playing King of the Mountain, he could see that Leslie was surrounded by a group of girls, led by Wanda Kay. He couldn't hear what they were saying, but he could tell by the proud way Leslie was throwing her head back that the others were definitely making fun of her. Greg Williams grabbed him then, and while they wrestled, Leslie disappeared. It was none of his business, really, but he threw Greg down the hill as hard as he could and yelled to no one in particular, "Gotta go." He stationed himself across from the girls' room. Leslie came out in a few minutes, and he could tell she'd been crying. "Hey, Leslie," he said softly. "Go away." She turned abruptly and headed the other way in a fast walk. With an eye on the office door, he ran after her. Nobody was supposed to be in the halls during recess. "Leslie, what's the matter?" "You know perfectly well what's the matter, Jess Aarons." "Yeah," he rubbed his hair. "If you'd just have kept your mouth shut, you can always watch it But she had wheeled around again and was zooming down the hall. Before he could finish the sentence and catch up with her, she was swinging the door to the girls' room right at his nose. Jess slunk out of the building. He couldn't risk Mrs. Turner catching him hanging out around the girls' room as though he was some kind of pervert or something. After school, Leslie got on the bus before he did and went straight to the corner of the long back seat. Right to the 7th grader's seat. He jerked his head at her to warn her to come further up front, but she wouldn't even look at him. He could see the 7th graders headed for the bus. The huge, bossy, bosomy girls and the mean, skinny, narrow-eyed boys. They would kill her for sitting in their territory. He jumped up and ran to the back and grabbed Leslie by the arm. "You gotta come up to your regular seat, Leslie." Even as he spoke, he could feel the bigger kids pushing up behind him down the narrow aisle. Indeed, Janice Avery, who among all the 7th graders was the one person who devoted her entire life to scaring the wits out of anyone smaller than she was right behind him. "Move, kid," she said. He planted his body as firmly as he could, although his heart was knocking at his Adam's apple. "Come on, Leslie," he said, and then he made himself turn and give Janice Avery one of those look-overs. From frizz blonde hair past a too-tight blouse and broad bean jeans to her gigantic sneakers. So he kind of did this. When he finished, he swallowed, stared straight up into her scowling face, and said almost steadily, "It don't look like there'll be any room across the back here for you and Janice Avery." Somebody hooted, "Ooh, Weight Watchers is waiting for you, Janice." Janice's eyes were hate mad, but she moved aside for Jess and Leslie to make their way past her to their regular seat. Leslie glanced back as they sat down and then leaned over. "Oh, she is going to get you for that, Jess. Boy, she's mad." Jess warmed to the tone of respect in Leslie's voice, but he didn't dare look back. "Heck," he said, "you think I'm going to let some dumb cow like that scare me?" By the time they got off the bus, he could finally send a swallow past his Adam's apple without choking. He even gave a little wave at the back seat as the bus pulled off. Leslie was grinning at him over Maybelle's head. "Well," he said happily, "see ya." "Hey, do you think we could do something this afternoon?" "Me too! I want to do something too!" Maybelle shrilled. Jess looked at Leslie. No was in her eyes. "Not this time, Maybelle. Leslie and I got something we got to do just ourselves today. But you can carry my books home and tell Mama I'm over at the Burks', okay?" "You ain't got nothing to do. You ain't even planned nothing." Leslie came and leaned over Maybelle, putting her hand on the little girl's thin shoulder. Maybelle, would you like some new paper dolls? Maybelle slid her eyes around suspiciously. What kind? Life in Colonial America? Maybelle shook her head. I want Bride or Miss America. Well, you can pretend these are Bride paper dolls. They do have lots of beautiful long dresses. Well, what's the matter with them? Nothing. They're brand new. Well, how come you don't want them if they're so great? When you're my age, Leslie gave a little sigh. You don't play with paper dolls anymore. My grandmother sent me these. You know how it is. Grandmas just forget you're growing up. Maybelle's one living grandmother was in Georgia and never sent her anything. You already punch them out? No, honestly, and all the clothes do punch out. You don't have to even use scissors. They could see she was weakening. How about, Jess began, you coming down and taking a look at them, and if they suit you, you could take them along home when you go and tell Mama where I am. Hold, please, while I drink my coffee. After they had watched Maybelle tearing up the hill, clutching her new treasure, Jess and Leslie turned and ran up over the empty field behind the old Perkins place and down to the dry creek bed that separated farmland from the woods. There was an old crabapple tree there, just in the bank of the creek bed, from which someone, long forgotten, had hung a rope. They took turns swinging across the gully on the rope. It was a glorious autumn day, and if you looked up as you swung, it gave you the feeling of floating. Jess leaned back and drank in the rich, clear color of the sky. He was drifting like a fat, white, lazy cloud, back and forth across the blue. Do you know what we need? Leslie called to him. Intoxicated as he was with the heavens, he couldn't imagine needing anything on earth. We need a place, she said, just for us. It would be so secret that we would never tell anyone in the world about it. Jess came swinging back and dragged his feet to a stop. She lowered